Nike are back at it with another collaboration with Sakai, but not being satisfied with doing one monster collaboration. They're chucking in Fragment, a second collaboration on top of that. Now, these Sakai shoes have been absolutely enormous at the Nike line for about the last 2 years, and it all started with some blazer mids, if my memory serves me well, and they were just huge. Great innovative shoe on a great silhouette, and I was able to get my hands on a pair, although a little bit too small for me, and I hung on to them for quite a long time, and I drag them out for videos and show you all that sort of double branding and double detailing on there. Although, having said that, they didn't show up very great on the green screen because the yellow base of the colorway actually looks straight through the green screen. It ended up looking like a transparent shoe, which is kind of cool if you think of the Air Max 1s, but we'll park that Air Max 1 and we'll stay focused on these Sakai's. So those blazers was a big start to these Sakai tie-up with Nike, and then the waffles came along after that. And to be honest, these days I feel like the waffles are more of a relevant shoe than the blazers, and from my perspective here in Tokyo, Japan, I see the waffles more often on foot out there than I do see the blazers. And here we are today with another 2 pairs of waffles, and the really interesting thing about these guys, not only is it a double collaboration with the Sakai brand and the Fragment brand, but it's also a really stripped back pair of colorways, because most of the lines that have come from Sakai over the last 18 months or so have been hugely innovative in their colors, really crazy colors, not just the detailing, the branding, the construction of the shoe, but the color blocking and stuff like that. But today, with these grays and these blues, they're stripped right back, and it's that kind of detailing that I want to get into with you guys today. So the double branding and also the stripped back nature of these shoes. But before we get into the shoe itself, let's get into the drop date, because both of these guys are already on the sneakers app for here in Tokyo, Japan on August the 24th. Now, I have to work out what date it is today. I'm shooting this on the 22nd. It'll go up on the 23rd, and that means the day after it goes up will be the day that they drop here in Tokyo, Japan. Now, I already have a request out there to try and get a pair. I think it was 28.5 centimeters. I'll have to check the comments from the video that the guy dropped it on, but I did the video 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago, about what's coming on the sneakers app in Tokyo, Japan, and I'm pretty sure these guys are coming ahead of the drop date. Now, the blue ones are coming on August the 27th, as far as I can see, across the ocean out there in the wider world, whereas they're here on August the 23rd, so it's the 24th. So it's only a 3-day difference, but the grey version are due to come out in the rest of the world on September the 8th. And if they're coming here on August 24th, then that gives you over 2 weeks ahead of the drop date. So I think that's what's interesting about these guys. Now, I'm not sure about those overseas drop dates because I'm here in Tokyo, Japan. I rely on websites, social media, stuff like that. And if I'm getting wrong information from third parties, I apologize for that. But what I'm seeing here in Tokyo, Japan, already on the sneakers app, the blue and the grey for August 24th, both of them at the same time. But overseas, the blue ones coming on August 27th and the grey ones on September the 8th. So we'll see what actually does come to pass, but it'll be interesting to see if I can get my hands on the grey pair of these. I think it was a grey pair. I will check the comments before trying to grab these, and hopefully somebody out there will be happy to get their hands on a pair of one of the greatest shoes. Now, tomorrow morning, I'm shooting this on Sunday night, tomorrow morning is the Air Jordan 1 Pollens, and then the day after that is these waffles. So it's a great sort of week in sneakers, and I think on Thursday it's the Jordan 5 Oreos, so a huge week coming up for many people out there. But we're focused in on these guys today, so let's take a look at some of the important details on it. First thing I'll do is I'll do the materials, and while we're doing the materials, we'll talk about that stripped back nature, and then I think we'll finish it up with the branding, because there's 2 really hot pieces of branding on these guys and 2 really standard pieces of branding. So first things first, colors and materials, and the best place to do that is to have a look at the toe. So hopefully on here what you're looking at is a toe, and I would guess it's the blue one, because the blue one has a little bit deeper color, so it's easier to see the contrast in the materials. And what we're talking about on the toe there is that the wraparound on the layer, the outside layer of the toe is done in this beautiful blue suede, and then the panel within that is done in mesh. So you've got that kind of contrast already, showing you 2 major materials on these shoes in the suede and the mesh. But if you read any of the details about these guys, you'll know that it's suede, mesh, and leather. So we're digging about a little bit, trying to find that leather. We might as well pan back and get to the swooshes on the side of these guys. And you see that basically whichever shoe we're looking at, the underlying upper color on these guys is just very simple. All blue on one shoe, all grey on the other shoe. And then when you get back to those double swooshes, which is the signature of the Sakai line, there's your leather, and they're in a very simple double white colorway, which is kind of unusual for the Sakai brand, because usually they do have the double swooshes on there, but there's contrast between the two, black and white, for example, blue and red, white and grey, different colors to kind of give a little bit of a spark on there, but we're not seeing that on these guys. Very much stripped back in that leather swooshes department. So the double swooshes are there, but they're very, very simple, and they fit the sort of simple narrative of the shoe very well. It'll be interesting to see how these end up on foot, because any Sakai waffles I've seen around Tokyo have looked massively chunky, much bigger than you would expect them to look from the actual pictures and stuff like that. They are a really large shoe, and in the pictures they look like a kind of sleek shoe, but I wonder if these guys are a little bit more sleek than the other ones that have been out there, because they seem to be just a little tighter, almost tight like a Cortez or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what these guys look like on foot. But basically there's our three materials, and our very, very simple color blocking: the suede and the mesh of the upper, and then the white leather of the swooshes on the side. So that's the major details in terms of material and colors. Now the two major branding details which are unusual we'll get to first, and then we'll go to the two major branding details which are kind of common for the Sakai line. Unusual number one, my favourite part of the shoe, the double tongues on these guys has always been a fascination to me as part of that Sakai branding and Sakai styling. But you can see as we look on it right now with those double tongues, that the front tongue of the two has your standard kind of branding on there for Sakai, but then behind that on the second tongue you see the fragment design on there, logo on there, and that's a real neat step forward in two departments. One is that it's got the fragment design on there, which is great in and of itself, but then the other detail is that you've got the contrast between the front and the back tongues. It's not having the fragment on both tongues, for example, so having that contrast between the front and the back is very cool. And then if we go down to the midsole towards the heel, you see that design on there. Now it says something like the classic Sakai : fragment or something along those lines. One of the interesting details about this branding is that yes, it does come on the midsole on the rear end of the shoe on the lateral side, but it also comes on the medial side, which is kind of unusual. Branding like this is often kept to just one side of the shoe, so to see it on both sides of the shoes is a pretty neat detail. And then the two sort of standard pieces of branding, I'm pretty sure if we look down from above into the insole, or we look at the insoles removed, you'll be able to see that Nike plus Sakai branding in a really interesting, very thin style font with the Sakai and the Nike overlaid on top of each other as a standard sort of insole branding. And then if we go around to the heels and have a look at the heels, you'll see the same thing on the back there. It's that Sakai and Nike branding sort of mashing it up together. So and then the last real detail to get into on the shoes, to have a look at the outsoles. The outsoles on these waffles always kind of fascinate me because they are very simple, but it goes back to that origination of the name, that they do look like they were made in a waffle machine, and they've got those sort of studs all the way through, especially towards the front end of the shoe where a couple of those studs kind of stick out. But they're very simple outsoles, all in black. The molding is probably the main feature on these guys. So back out looking at the whole shoes, don't know which ones, maybe we'll alternate between the two, or maybe there's some kind of hybrid or whatever. But the grey and the red's coming out in just a couple of days time here in Tokyo, Japan. I'm pretty sure that's ahead of the drop date for both of these guys anywhere else in the world, and that's big news for me and big news for you if you're interested in these shoes. We might just be able to get these to you in hand for resale, not resale, retail plus shipping, and shipping is probably about $30 or something like that. So if these guys come in at say $150 and you add $30 to that to get it to you a few days ahead of the drop date, that's a pretty big deal. And we'll see how that goes. So like I said, I've already got a request from a viewer out there to go after these guys, and to be honest, I feel like the channel is shifting in that direction. If we talk about the channel as a whole, I said that this video would go up on the 23rd, which is just 1 week before the end of the month, and the end of the month marks 1,000 consecutive days on YouTube, daily content every single day. And the channel's evolved at various different points throughout its existence, and I feel like we're heading towards another evolution, maybe tweak tweak the content a little bit, change the direction the channel's going in, and feel like shoes like these that are heading to stores in Japan earlier than they are out there could be the kind of thing that drives this move into a different direction for the channel. But let's see what happens coming down the line. For now though, it's time to just wrap up another video after looking at two very nice waffles today, the blue and the grey Sakai waffle fragment double collaboration, a great pair of shoes coming here in Tokyo, Japan on August 24th. For now though, time to wrap up another video, and I'll just do the thing that I do at the end of every video, which is remind you that I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.